So on September 17th, 1992, Misty convinces her mom that her and Trina want to go to the fair, and they want to go without any adults. So at 8:45, Misty calls her mom to say, hey, I missed the bus. Is there any way you can give me a ride? And her mom's understandably upset. Misty says, okay, I'm going to call Ruben to give me a ride. Ruben was one of her 18-year-old friends. And her mom is like, no way. She does not like Ruben because, again, he's this 18-year-old. Right. So Diana told Misty, look through your electronic organizer, which she had. It was 1992. Super cool. Find someone to give you a ride. And when you find somebody, call me back so I know that, you found a ride and you're okay. Well, that call never came. And nobody ever heard from Misty ever again. When Diana returned home a few hours later, she expected to see Misty there, sleeping, sitting on the couch, watching TV. Eventually, when she tries everyone and can't find her daughter, she calls 911 in the early morning hours. And they tell her she has to wait 30 days to report her daughter missing.
What?
She left a note on Trina's door asking her to call her when she gets home from school. And she eventually goes to the sheriff's department. And she learns that the dispatcher shouldn't have told her that. She said the whole waiting 30 days thing isn't actually true. That she started walking home when Misty missed the bus, and that was basically it. She never heard from her, she didn't show up to school, and she hasn't seen her since. Diana decides to call Ruben again. The roommate, James, tells Diana that Ruben had, in fact, gone with his uncle to pick up Misty the night before. Ruben says that his roommate had it all wrong. Him and his uncle had actually just gone to a party that night. Diana even tracked down the bus driver who had the route that Misty should have been on that night. And he said that he actually remembered seeing her on the night she went missing, but he had been finishing up for the night and wasn't headed back up to her stop. So he told her, listen, you can catch the next bus to Tacoma, and it's 10 miles out of your way, but when you get to Tacoma, then you can catch a bus back to your house. She was able to function normally in her day-to-day life, but she had a couple of DUIs and a prior conviction for welfare fraud. One kid said that she'd gotten a call from her after her disappearance. Another one said they saw her at a concert. The next day, the sergeant who decided that Misty wasn't missing gave an interview to the local radio station that would basically change the public's view. He said, nope, this girl is not missing. She's just a runaway. And actually, I think her mom knows exactly where she's at.
What?
But apparently, Randy said that he only heard this information from a drunk police captain. And he basically went on a one-man crusade against Randy. He made threats to carry out vigilante justice. And they had exactly 2 years and 1 month in between each murder.
Spooky.
Yeah, he claims that he even warned police of this upcoming murder before Misty went missing. There is zero chance that your daughter is going to be found alive.
Oh my God.
And on October 5th, Corey calls the sergeant in charge of the police department. Sorry, she's a runaway. And he further tells him that they passed her case off to the sheriff's department where she lived. Started making threats, going to the media, just like he did with the Green River case. Because it turns out that Corey was a small-time weed dealer. So just 2 weeks later, in early November, she ends up dropping the restraining order against Corey because officials revealed that they were going to reopen the Green River killer case. And they were officially counting the 2 young Puyallup girls, Anna and Kim, as his victims, found off Highway 410 near mile marker 30. Corey starts to organize search parties because in early December, the sheriff's office changes Misty's official file once again and lists her as missing under suspicious circumstances. And just a week after, Corey did a story with the News Tribune about his searches and how he believed Misty's case was connected to Anna and Kim's. He had a theory that this publicity would get the killer to act out, but nothing ended up happening. Diana actually ran into him once at the grocery store just about 3 months after Misty's disappearance, and he literally ran from her, and then dropping her off of a ravine, thinking that she would fall to her death. But luckily, she survived, and he was later sentenced to 7 years. He does, but police never even listed him as a suspect. Near the jeans were a pair of socks and underwear that her mom said also belonged to her. The other 2 girls were found about a 10-minute hike into the woods off of the highway, And Misty's stuff had been found just a few hundred feet from the road. And when Corey goes to jail, some detectives actually go visit him and they ask him for his case file since he's the one who has been investigating it since day one and probably has the most information, but he refuses to give it to them because he basically told them to go F themselves. However, she reveals something that they didn't know. She said apparently the plan all along was for the girls to get a ride home from Ruben. But she says when they were about to get a ride home from him, he said that he didn't have enough gas money to get them home. That he knew where Misty was buried, and investigators were off by about 6.5 miles in their search for her. Oh, but by the way, Ruben says he suffers from blackouts, and he had an episode right after Misty's second call to him.
Wait, excuse me?
All they did was give Ruben a polygraph, but the whole time that he's taking the polygraph, he was trying to make himself fall asleep. They tell Diana that he passed the polygraph with flying colors. She got a ride from her super skeezy 23-year-old boyfriend. This guy's name was Michael. He had an incident of rape when he was a juvenile that he had never been charged for. He sold it to an undercover officer who gets it forensically tested.
Yes.
Then he said Ruben left and he didn't come back again until around midnight. On the pants were found hairs, fibers, and 3 red paint chips. He was following this woman down the street and he asked her for a cigarette. She tells him no, and he must have given her some serious creep vibes because she crosses the street to get away from him and pulls out her phone to dial 911. And while she's dialing, he rushes at her, pushes her off the side of the embankment, down 15 feet. And in 2015, a strange posting on a UK website was from a person claiming to be a relative of Ruben's. And they said it was a big family secret. If you look up Corey D. Bober online, he has these posts that are like rambling in all caps. They don't make sense. There's photoshopped pictures of Misty, claiming to have seen her around. And he is still, to this day, going after Randy, who he says is the Antichrist,